Howdy gamers, and it's the first Saturday of July. You know what that means. It's National Harass Volition Games Employees Day.
What the heck is the 4th of July?
This is going to be a different type of video than usual, but don't worry, my Dead Space review will be up sometime next week, but until then, I want to talk about some of my traditions. And if you're wondering what traditions are long established customs or beliefs that have been passed on from one generation to another. Or at least that's what the back of my Wii U says anyways. But I feel like traditions don't have to be passed down from generations. For example, every year I read the Metal Gear Solid 2 manual. It's a fun time, but believe it or not, that's not a tradition that was passed down from my parents. The way I see it, traditions are something that you do habitually once a year, or maybe a bit more frequent, like once a month. It's nice to have some of your own traditions that you do. Most of my traditions I do personally are video game related. There are also some family traditions like watching all the Marvel movies every Christmas or getting our Christmas tree from the same place every year. But like I said, it's nice to have a tradition to call your own. I mainly have 3 video game traditions that I do. First off, we have my tradition with Pokemon. The main one is every year starting on the first day of summer, I like to start a new game of Pokemon. The tradition started around 2 years ago when I was graduating from 8th grade. I just graduated so I had some extra money, and I decided to buy a Game Boy Color. Not just any Game Boy Color though, a Pokemon Game Boy Color. And of course, I needed a game to go along with it, so what better game than Pokemon Crystal? I had played Gen 2 of Pokemon when I was younger with Pokemon Heart Gold, but I'll be honest, I didn't remember anything about that playthrough, so I was excited to get to play through Gen 2 for basically the first time. Unfortunately, the game arrived on time, but the Game Boy itself didn't. The eBay seller had some family issues, so he ended up shipping me the Game Boy late. But I wouldn't have had it any other way, because to make up for it being late, he included the freaking box. You can see it in the background of all my videos, and the thing is, the box for this system is just way too expensive. Like, I'd never be able to actually afford it. This guy just sent it to me for free, which is just insane. And the best part was, the Game Boy arrived just a few days before my 8th grade trip. Basically, it's tradition in my family to go on an 8th grade trip. See what I did there? I used the tradition word. It's never an expensive trip, but I'm really privileged to go on an 8th grade trip because I just don't think that's something most people do. Anyways, for mine, I ended up going to Yellowstone. For those of you who don't live in the States, it's an amazing national park with buffalo, geysers, great hikes, and some amazing food. And visiting Yellowstone itself is only $35 for a 7-day pass. On the car ride there, I played a lot of Pokemon Crystal. And one of the things about Yellowstone is that the attractions of Yellowstone are really far apart. You have to drive a while to get from place to place, and that gave me a lot of time to play Pokemon Crystal. I ended up beating it around halfway through the trip, and eventually another year came around, and I didn't intend on it being a tradition, but just something about it being the first day of summer and having an entire 3 months ahead of you just makes me want to embark on an adventure. A Pokemon adventure. Basically, this year I just finished freshman year of high school, and I was ready to game. It wasn't a Pokemon game on purpose, I just wanted a new game to play, so I went out to the store and picked it up and played it. I was freaking so addicted to this game. I don't even know why, because I've beaten Gen 1 of Pokemon just so many times, but I was absolutely loving it. This is my playtime from when I got it, and literally the day I got it, I stayed up till 3 AM playing it. And I know for some of you that might be an everyday thing, but for me that's late. I probably would have beaten the game within 24 hours, but my friend invited me over to his house so I didn't get to. And I don't know exactly when I beat it, but probably within a few days. It doesn't end there though. My brother was a junior going into senior year of high school, and you know what that means, college visits. This was like a week or 2 after I had beaten Let's Go, but since then I had gotten a little game, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Dark Souls. I'd been playing it non-stop. I don't want this to turn into a Dark Souls video, but basically by the time it was time for college visits, I was on the Bell Gargoyles boss fight. I don't know if it was just me, but that was the hardest boss fight in the game for me. I ended up trying to beat it on the college visit, but I was getting no progress at all. So when I wasn't playing Dark Souls or Fortnite in my hotel room, I was playing Let's Go. If you're confused as to why I was still playing it after I'd beaten the game, I don't blame you. But basically, I was determined to get my team that I beat the game with all the way to level 100. I don't think I did it before I got back, but I at least got them to level 91. And I forgot to mention, the team that I beat the game with was just all Butterfree, because Butterfree's my favorite Pokemon. And then, a week after I got back from my college visits, my mom signed me up for volunteering at a nursing home. If you're wondering what I did, I basically just served ice cream. I mean, someone had to do it, but the thing was, almost no one was buying ice cream at all. So after a boring first few days, I just decided to bring my Switch in. And the thing was, if I hid it behind the counter, no one would be able to see it. Because Let's Go Pikachu is only played with one Joy-Con. Which means I could basically stand there and play the game with one hand, so you wouldn't even notice I was playing Pokemon. At this point, I had taken a break from getting my team to level 100, and instead I was shiny hunting. I ended up getting the shiny Caterpie at home, but from there, I just tried to get it to level 100. I ended up getting it to level 90 or something, and of course, I became Butterfree Master, but my birthday came around and I got Breath of the Wild, so I kinda stopped playing Let's Go Pikachu. Flash forward to present day, this summer, I ended up playing Pokemon Ultra Moon. I didn't want to pay a bunch of money for an older game, so that's what I went with. I'm still playing through it right now, but it's taking me longer than usual because I have no car trip I'm going on because of this whole pandemic thing. And plus I've been busy with my YouTube channel. But right now I'm at the part in the game where you're in Team Skull's town. I'm enjoying the game so far, but at the beginning of this Pokemon segment, I said I had 2 Pokemon traditions. And the other one is that every year, I beat Pokemon Gen 1. It started beginning of freshman year in 2018, which is the same year I started the other Pokemon tradition, and basically I was just bored in school. Like, of course you should pay attention in school, but some of my freshman classes were just jokes. So whenever I could, I was playing Pokemon Fire Red on OpenEMU, which is a great emulator for Macs. I even got some of my friends to join me, and they started playing Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green with me. And one of my friends got a freaking shiny Squirtle, which was just insane. Anyways, eventually I beat the game, and moving on to 2019, I beat Gen 1 again, but this time was Let's Go Pikachu. I already explained that one, so moving on to current year 2020, this year was different. Freshman year, I really wanted to put games onto my calculator, but I was too much of an ape-brain to figure out how to do it. But around a few weeks after school had started, I figured out how to do Game Boy emulation on my calculator. I played through Mega Man The Wily Wars, Super Mario Land, Kirby 1, Mario Land 2, and then I decided to play through Pokemon. I mean, it made sense, it doesn't require as much attention as games like Kirby and Mario. So I ended up beating Gen 1 Pokemon on my calculator. And when I deleted it off my calculator, it kinda stunk because I knew I'd never get to see my team that I beat the game with again. And if you're wondering how I beat so many games on my calculator, the trick is to take electives like journalism and film class. Also, Spanish was online this year because my school Spanish teacher showed up to school for 3 days and then just quit. Online Spanish was just so poorly paced and I loved it for that, so I had so much free time. I also had driver's ed and stuff, but to be honest, I played on my Switch in driver's ed more than my calculator. Anyways, the next tradition I have is a Christmas one. This, technically, I started last year, but I'm definitely going to do it this year. Basically, one day I forgot why I searched Celeste on eBay, and to my surprise, someone was selling an unopened Limited Run Games Collector's Edition for only 20 bucks. I freaked out and bought it right away, and of course, as I'm sure you can tell by the shelves behind me in my videos, I never got it. They ended up canceling my order for it, and I was just really disappointed. Naturally then, I went on Best Buy and impulse bought a regular copy of Celeste. Even though it's published by Limited Run Games, Best Buy just has copies of it on their online website. It was technically a pre-order, and I'm not sure when it arrived, but I remember it was a Friday, and I came home from school so excited to play it. And I absolutely love the game. I can't recommend it enough. And when I went to school on Monday, you better believe I brought my Switch with me and played Celeste in Spanish. That's probably why I got a B in the class, but who cares? I mean, colleges do, but oh well. I ended up beating Celeste on November 24th, but once you beat Celeste, you still have the B sides and the C sides to do, so I didn't really beat it, and I kept on playing it through December. I honestly can't wait to replay the game this December, but this video is already longer than I planned on it being, so on to the final and my favorite tradition. Every July 4th for the past 4 years, so since 2016, I have been beating The Legend of Zelda on the NES. It started in 2016 because we had just gotten the Breath of the Wild gameplay trailer from E3 that year. I was excited for Breath of the Wild, and so I decided that before the game came out next year, I was going to beat all the Legend of Zelda games. I ended up not doing that, but I put off playing the games probably because I was busy playing Black Ops 3 or something. And on the 4th of July, I finally decided to start playing through all the games, starting with the original. Honestly, the original game isn't even too long as you have a guide with you. I'm not entirely sure what guide I used back then, but if you're going to do it, I really recommend IGN guides. It tells you how to prepare and stuff, getting heart pieces, sword upgrades, and armor upgrades. And I feel like watching a video isn't the same because you're just copying what someone else is doing. With an IGN guide or something like that, it feels like a treasure map guiding you to some long lost treasure. Anyways, I ended up beating the original Legend of Zelda in one day, and then I decided that next I was going to play Link to the Past because frick the second game. So I started it the same day, I didn't like it, and then I stopped playing Link to the Past. But then go forward a year, it was 4th of July, and I was bored again, and I decided that I was going to play The Legend of Zelda again. It was 2017 when the Switch came out, but I didn't have the Switch yet, or Breath of the Wild, but for some reason I just decided to play the original Legend of Zelda again. Probably just because of how it's perfectly timed, so if you start it when you wake up, by the time you finish, it'll be almost time for fireworks. And there's just something about that I absolutely love. Finally finishing the game and then fireworks going off almost as if to congratulate you. Because I mean, after beating the final few dungeons in the game, you really deserve it. And it's not that I can just see the fireworks going off a few miles away from my house. I'm really lucky because I live 2 blocks away from a country club, which means that they can set off fireworks from the golf course and I can just stand along the country club fence and watch. Next year 4th of July came and I'm sure you know what happened, except this time, beforehand I knew what I was going to be doing, and once again I was able to beat the game before the fireworks went off. And then 2019 comes around, I beat it again, and now it's 2020, and if you're watching this the day it comes out, it's 4th of July. I'm purposely going to be uploading this at 12 AM Central Time, so that way, if you're watching this when it releases, first off, you should probably be sleeping, that's not very good, but also, I recommend that when you wake up and it's 4th of July, try to beat it before the fireworks go off. Or, who knows, it's coronavirus season, so maybe there won't be fireworks. Well, as you've seen for the last 12 minutes and 9 seconds, I'm a pretty big sucker for traditions. So since I can't go directly to Volition Games headquarters and harass them that way, I'm just gonna leave reviews on games I've never bought before. Frick! I accidentally misclicked and gave Saints Row 5 a good review. I'm gonna have to get that removed, don't worry, but until then, stay safe, and I love you guys.